everyone, and welcome back to my dog collecting channel. Today we're doing a video which is similar to the videos I used to make, and that is the American Girl dolls as college majors. I thought this might be a fun video to do, considering I know people who are in their last year of high school are starting to apply to colleges, so I see a lot of people talking about college this time of year, so I thought this would be a fun little video. So I'm going to be focusing on the American Girl historical characters and what I think they would study in university or college. So without further ado, let's get started. So first we have Kaya. Now I think Kaya would study Indigenous studies, which I know this is a little bit stereotypical, but Indigenous studies sounds so cool. And I feel like Kaya would probably study Indigenous studies because then she'd be able to have the tools and resources to help her community. And I feel like she would be a person who would be very proud of her community and would try and likes helping people. So I feel like the Indigenous studies would give her a lot of like tools and resources to give back to her community. And I feel like that would be really important to her. So I think that's why I chose Kaya for Indigenous studies, because Indigenous studies is pretty fun. I would love to do Indigenous studies because you can study history and then contemporary issues. There's just a lot of interesting aspects of Indigenous studies that I think Kaya would really benefit from if she decided to study it. So Felicity's degree, I don't really know the name of it. And when I Googled it, because I was trying to find because I've lived in rural areas basically my whole life. So I met a lot of girls who did like equestrian studies. But when I Googled it, that's not really what you call it. If I'm pronouncing this right, it's like equine science. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So what it is basically a science degree that focuses on horses and how to take care of horses. And it's a science degree, so I'm assuming you learn a lot about biology and other sciences. So I feel like Felicity would really, really enjoy that because she does love horses. And I've known so many people who've taken these degrees in university. It's insane. I've known so many people who've done this. Next, we have Elizabeth, who I think she would study culinary arts because I think it's mentioned in the character encyclopedia that she loves baking. So I think that she would choose something related to cooking and baking, considering that's one of her passions. So Elizabeth would be culinary arts or maybe pastry arts, something along those lines. Next, we have Caroline, and I think Caroline would be, I'm getting like travel and tourism vibes from her. A little bit with her, being on a boat, but I see her as like one of those girls that would like go on those yachts and work on those yachts during like college, during her like summers off from college, and just work on a yacht in Europe or something like that. I feel like she would do that. So that's why I chose travel and tourism, because I feel like she would love to work on like a cruise ship or something like that. Next we have Josefina, and I think Josefina would study psychology and maybe become a therapist, because I feel like she's very empathetic and she cares for people. So I feel like she would have the excellent skills of being a therapist. So that's probably why she would study psychology. I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I have not taken most of these degrees. I think my degree, I studied anthropology. I don't think I put any of the girls as studying anthropology or business. No, there's a few business majors on here. So I don't know too much about these degrees, but just on a surface level, this is what I think they would study from going to university and just seeing the people in different programs and things like that. So if I say something wrong, if I say like, oh, they should do this and study this and it's not the correct pathway, I'm not doing it purposely. I just don't know. Next we have Marie Grace. And Marie Grace, I think she would go to med school like her dad, maybe to become like a psychiatrist, because she does care for other people. And I feel like maybe a psychiatrist, because from the outside, it doesn't look like they have to deal with too many messes. Like a doctor might have to, like a surgeon would be really messy, but I think a psychiatrist, maybe not. Maybe they do, but I feel like Marie Grace, she wants to help people, but I don't know if she would be like a surgeon or something. So I said she would go to med school because I feel like she's really smart and like her dad, but then do something like be a psychiatrist. Next we have Cecile, and Cecile would be an opera singer. So I don't know too much about this path, becoming an opera singer. I've known a few people who've said that they wanted to be opera singers, but they like didn't get into the program. But I feel like Cecile has the confidence and the skill, according to her stories, to be able to pull it off. So I feel like she would, have the dedication and the skill to become an opera singer. So I think that's what she would do. Next we have Kirsten, and Kirsten, I really struggled with Kirsten. So I ended up putting linguistics because I know that she struggled with English in her stories, but I feel like she might find it interesting with like knowing how to speak Swedish and then knowing how to speak English. Maybe she would do linguistics. This one I really struggled with, so don't judge me. Next we have Addie, and Addie, I feel like she would make an excellent teacher, so she would study education, because when she was going to school, she came home and taught her mom how to read, and that was like a really nice moment in her story. So I feel like Addie would continue to have that heart of a teacher and would teach other people, and I honestly think Addie would make an excellent teacher. Next we have Samantha, and because Samantha is rich, she doesn't need to work, so I think she would choose something really unemployable like philosophy, then like maybe drop out after like a few years and not complete her degree because she's not paying for it, because Grandmary's paying for it. So she might just be like a perpetual student her entire life because she doesn't need to work, and a little bit she's scared of working, so she would just keep on tacking on more degrees instead of like joining the workforce. Next we have Nellie, and I put Nellie in human resources because I feel like she would be, working on getting people labor rights, which is something she experienced herself working in a factory. So that's why I put her in HR. I don't know, I thought it was funny. Maybe it's not that funny. Maybe this like dark humor territory. Next we have Rebecca, and Rebecca would go to a sketchy film school that's borderline a scam. I've met so many people who've tried to do those film school things that are not accredited, and when you tell them, hey, I'm not thinking about going this year, can I take a year off to work, they yell at you over the phone. This has happened twice, actually. There's some schools that, because I used to do acting, there's these schools that when you tell them, like, you'll apply or you'll be interested in applying, and then you'll get angry phone calls being like, you need to apply now, and like, if you don't apply now, you're not going to get in, and then we're going to blacklist you, and all this stuff. They'll give you like angry phone calls. Like, acting is wild, man. So one of those sketchy schools I feel like she would go to that are like twice or three times expensive as a regular like theater school program, but they think, and they're like a year long, like half the amount of time, and they convince you it's because they have connections, but they really don't. So she would fall victim for one of those sketchy acting schools. Next we have Claudie, who would do a liberal arts degree because she can't decide on anything. She tries to do a little bit of everything, trying to find her talent, and if she still had that mentality when she was applying to universities, I feel like she would choose a liberal arts degree so she doesn't have to pick anything. Next we have Kit, and this is one of the most obvious ones, but she would go in for journalism because she's a reporter. Next we have Ruthie, and I think Ruthie would study English literature because she has a huge passion for fairy tales, and I think she would become like a teacher, like probably like an elementary school teacher. Next we have Nanea, and Nanea is another doll that I think would study travel and tourism, or maybe hospitality, because she lives in Hawaii, and I think she could see that she could probably make a lot of money if she got that degree. I see Molly joining the military and like working on airplanes or something. That's what I see Molly doing. She probably would be drawn into the idea of like free college. So I see Molly doing that. Then Emily, I think, would be studying British history. Like, not just history in general. No, just British history. I feel like she would study that like nobody's business. Next we have Mary Ellen, and Mary Ellen is different from Rebecca, but similar because they both want to be actresses, but Mary Ellen would go to a theater school and then become a drama teacher. That's what I see Mary Ellen doing. Next we have Melody, and Melody would study music, obviously. Julie, I think, would study kinesiology because she's really into sports and basketball and things like that. So I people from my high school who were really into sports, most of them went into kinesiology. Do I really know what a kinesiologist is? Not really. Do I know what they do? Sort of. But I feel like Julie would do it. Next we have Ivy, which I think Ivy would study philosophy. This was another really hard one. I don't know why Ivy would study philosophy, but I feel like she would choose something because she thinks it sounds smart and she thinks she could, like, you know, just make money off of being smart. So she would choose that, when in reality it's not the most employable degree. And by not the most employable, I mean it's like the least employable degree. Like there's nothing you can do with philosophy other than teach philosophy, which is probably what she would end up doing. Next we have Courtney, and I think Courtney would study gender studies. I think that I don't know. Why are you asking me this? Like, this is hard. I feel like she would study gender studies because she sees her mom becoming a mayor, and then I don't know if this is covered in the books, but if this was reality, she'd probably see all the discrimination her mom would face for making that decision. So she would probably want to do that to help with politics, because I know a lot of people take the gender studies degree to help with politics. I think that was a really fun video. If you are applying for universities right now, do not stress. Soon it will be over and you'll be accepted into your schools and you'll have a good time. I just graduated university last May, and then I'm planning on going back. So yeah, I graduated with an anthropology degree and I'm going back for an education degree. So it's kind of crazy, but before you know it, time will fly and you're like, what was I doing for 4 years? I also went to university. My entire university experience was like during the pandemic. So, or most of it, like 75-80% of my experience was during COVID. So that was crazy. But do not stress. University isn't as crazy as people make it seem. And hopefully I gave you a little bit of a temporary break by watching this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you all next time.